So I have been playing Lockdown the past few days, and with that, I ended up getting around 52 vehicles extracted, which is pretty insane. And on top of that, I also got every single one of the main Blacklist vehicles unlocked. And also with that, I do want to go over some tips and tricks I found to make this a tad easier when going after all 15 Blacklist vehicles. And why not go over like a mild review of the update itself, because I do feel like despite the issues, it's honestly pretty dang fun. So I guess you could probably say the lockdown game mode for most players is probably going to be a really fun experience. Now I do understand jumping into this game mode, it's probably going to be insanely confusing, but once I feel like players actually do start getting into it, playing it and getting the ropes down and all that, they're probably going to have an entire route down, everything they have to do, and pretty much enjoy every single match when they get into it. Now for me though, having over 50 extractions and also getting all the blacklist vehicles, I guess you could probably say I did end up playing this update pretty dang hard though, and I admit I had a great time around 90% of the time I was playing it. Like, yeah, I had some hiccups here and there, like for example guys, one tip I can give right now is, well, if you're actually going after one of the extraction trucks spawning into the map, make sure you actually have enough time to get to it, because if you get to that and try to get the bar going on it, and it's around 10 or 15 seconds, that thing will blow up, and guess what? You are going to blow up with it, and you will lose the vehicle you actually have. So do be careful with that. I did actually end up making a mistake with that one. I also did end up messing up one of the Bugattis I did end up stealing because of it. So I would definitely recommend watching out for that. But once you actually do end up getting the vehicles you are looking for, which I do have to admit, if you were going after the blacklist vehicles, which I would guess everybody wants them, and I'm probably going to take a big guess right now and say most of the players going after these said blacklist vehicles are most likely going to have a really interesting time with the RNG factor. If you are wondering what I am talking about, I managed to get 14 out of 15 vehicles, right? It actually took me around 7 hours after that, guys, to get the other car I needed. And the funny part is, I don't know how many matches I actually played, but let me tell you, it was a lot of them. I don't know how many games I went into where I would not even see a blacklist vehicle, and other times I would always see the same car I already got. If you might be wondering why the RNG is going to be this terrible, I think I actually have a theory on it. I'm not 100% sure how many vehicles do actually spawn in the lockdown game mode. Right now I'm going to guess and say maybe around 25 to 30. Again, I could be wrong, could be more or less, but let's just say for example right now it's only 25 vehicles that can spawn in this game mode. And the funny part is it's most likely going to be upwards of 30 vehicles in the actual game mode. But for the sake of this though, let's just say there's only 25 of them. We all do know there's going to be 10 random cars from like single player, like special builds on them, whether it's going to be Bugattis, Regeras, Lamborghinis, legit guys, Paganis, they're all in there. I'm actually going to show you some of the cars I have collected here in a second. It's honestly pretty dang insane the cars you can get out of this. The best part, by the way, is I don't even have them unlocked yet, but you can get the cars out of the game mode. Yes, it's insane, but before I show you the cars though, I did want to mention this. So let's just say again there's going to be 25 cars you can actually get in the actual game mode. When you jump in, there's going to be a total of 5, yes, 5 lockups around the entire map. There is not that many lockups, only 3 of them are going to be able to be used with the motorcycle. I did see a few different things about this online, but after playing for a while, there's a few things I figured out. You can go find all 5 lockups around the entire map on the actual thing itself because they always spawn in instantly. So wherever you spawn in, you can actually go, once you start memorizing where they are, you can go check it, see if there's going to be one there. All you have to look for when you get close to it is like all the icons floating. You're then going to know you're actually near a lockup. And that's the thing though, when you spawn in guys, you're going to see a 30-minute timer on the map, right? Which I'm sure everyone knows that by this point. I mean, the update's been out for like a week now or something, so I would probably be like, yeah, everybody knows that there's going to be a 30-minute countdown, but besides that though, you're going to have around 5 minutes before the first motorcycle spawns and the first lockup location is open. Every single lockup you actually find around the map, again, there's 5 of them. Any of the ones of those 5 you actually find can open up with the motorcycle. So let's say you actually find all 5, you do memorize it, you want to wait for the timer. That way you don't have to grind a bunch of money to open that said lockup. Sometimes the one you actually find can actually be open with the motorcycle, but again, you're going to have to wait. Now, as far as I do know, so the first one was at 25 minutes. motorcycle and lockup happens. For me though, I noticed around 19 minutes and 30-ish seconds I would then get the second lockup one, and also like the other motorcycle that would spawn. And I think it's around maybe 12 or so minutes, 11-ish minutes for me, the next one would spawn. At least something like that, at least of what I have noticed when playing so many of these matches. And again, the farther you get into that match, the bigger the storm's going to be, the more police everywhere. It is going to get insanely intense. I'm also going to show you a map, guys, that was insanely helpful to me if you are looking to grab many of these lockups and at least find the locations. It helped me get so many of these cars, guys. I think it's Vic VRs or something like that. I will show a screenshot of it, but definitely use this map. It was so dang helpful. I didn't actually follow the legit route that was on the map, but I really went by this to find them all. There's actually a lot of lockup locations. I think there's around 29 of them or something like that, so they're everywhere. So yeah, you could probably spawn in. If you jump into the match, you can pretty much be like, okay, there's going to be 2 here. Let me check, because you do not know where the lockups actually are. So definitely keep an eye out for those when you spawn in. I always turn around or look at my map and go, okay, let me go there and actually check and see if there's a car. Again, it's going to be fully RNG based. You can have a game where you might find one lockup with every single Blacklist car, but the one you actually need in it. You then might end up jumping into another lockdown match and only finding one vehicle from the Blacklist, and it's of course going to be the car you don't need. Funny thing is, the other locations though can be like a Regera, Pagani, Huayra. You also might get like a Bugatti, a Lambo. Like, you can seriously get some crazy cars from it. And speaking of the insane cars you might get, guys, there's something I have to admit right now. You are going to have some great matches where they might be decently quick, your RNG might be great, and other ones are probably going to be awful. I just want to warn you. Sometimes my matches would take around 5 to 7 minutes, other time it's 10. Sometimes I barely get out with around 7, even 5 minutes left, and it's legit pretty dang annoying how bad the RNG is. But you want to find the actual lockups. Sometimes they're spread everywhere, and getting around to them can be kind of annoying. Honestly, the best way is use whatever car you spawn in for that first 5 minutes and get the motorcycle so much quicker. Of course, unless you have like an S plus vehicle maxed out, those dudes like 230, so that's probably going to be a great option. But the good thing about the motorcycle is you can actually go in the zones and not lose any health. And it's also really easy to lose the police in that thing, so I would recommend it. Now, we all do know you can obviously get a lot of different cars from the actual lockups, but guess what you can also get out of this game mode, man? I made around $8+ million from it. You can make a serious amount of money playing this game mode. Now, I do understand if you're not playing this in a solo session, which I'm going to get into some of that here in a second, then yeah, you might actually not make it much, but even in public sessions, I still made over 100K easily. I actually made over 200 in some of them. The most I ever made, I think it was a solo session, because I would say you wouldn't be able to do it without it. I made like $460,000, man. And on top of me actually making around $460,000, I also was stealing a LaFerrari. Like, seriously, that's like making out with $1 million out of that one game. Now, currently, I do have a good amount of supercars, guys, but if you're looking to make money, and let's say you might actually have a really terrible round in the lockdown game mode, because it happens, just go after a bunch of money, find the most expensive car that is in the lockup, and then just take that thing and deliver it, and then jump into another match. That's the best way to do it. Don't sit in there and wait if you keep seeing terrible cars. Like, I had a lot of matches I'd only find like 3 or 4 of the lockups, and I was like, you know what, man? I am not going to wait or try to find all of these. This is kind of frustrating. I'm just going to grab this Pagani and I'm going to get out of here. Let me jump into another game and try my RNG in that one. I would definitely recommend doing something like this. It did help because getting all 15 Blacklist vehicles is a grind in itself. So as I did say before, I was talking about getting into a solo session. I actually tried a bunch of different ways to do this. I don't know if it's a glitch. I hope it isn't. And I actually think they should really add a solo game mode into Lockdown, man. Like, it just makes sense. I do understand players want to jump in with a crew. That's kind of the design of the game mode itself. But just make it so we can actually jump in by ourselves with a crew with nobody else on the map. I feel like everybody would love it. Now, if you are wondering, well, Blocked, how do you get into a regular solo session? Like, is there a legit, sure way to do it? To be honest, I was messing around with this for hours on end, guys, when playing, because I kept getting lobbies with, like, 1 or 2 people in them, sometimes just one other crew, which is fine. Then other times I would see, like, 2 or 3 crews in them, and it would probably get a bit more intense. Mind you, I still got out of those matches with some great cars though. I got a P1 GTR, I got a few Blacklist vehicles in those, so it isn't a terrible watch. Like sometimes you can spawn in and be right next to a car you actually need. So I wouldn't necessarily leave that and then give up because you could still get a great car from it. But if you are looking to get into a regular private crew or at least jump into your own lobby, I actually managed the past few days to only play in my own lobbies when doing this and actually going after a bunch of cars and finally getting all the Blacklist vehicles. The way I did this, guys, when you are in the menu, I will show footage of this in the background. Have it set to public crew when you're actually in the menu. What I would do then is back out by leaving the game and going back to the main menu, then closing the application. Now, I'm not sure if you have to do all of these steps, but this is basically the way I found to get into my own session, because honestly, a lot of the other ways wasn't working. I would then log into the game, of course, load into online, and then go into the lockdown thing. I would then switch the triangle button, or I think it's Y on the Xbox, and go into a private crew, leave it about 3 to 4 seconds, hit it again, go back into a public, and then 3 to 4 seconds again, then hit that and be in a private crew. After that, guys, I would then find a match, and I was actually able to get around 6 to 7 games in a row legit by myself. I don't know if it's going to be the best sure way to actually do it, but it was working when I did it. I would understand that you might end up getting in, like, again, a lobby with 1 or 2 people once in a while, but after doing this method, though, I was able to get into my own session. Now, there is going to be a few things to factor in, though. If you're doing this and something happens, like the game crashes, which I did actually have that twice, by the way, you would then load back into the game like you normally would, then boom, it's still going to be on the private crew setting. You're like, okay, dope, let me jump into a game. Here's the thing, every time that actually happened, I would go back into the game, I would join, there would always be people in my session, even in a private crew, every single time. The only way I was able to fix that, though, is to basically put it back to, once again, public, close the game out like I did say before, then try to get back on and do it that way. And sometimes a few days ago, that actually took me like 2 or 3 tries to do that, but it did work. There is a total of 5 crews in most of the matches, equaling around 15 players, okay? The thing is, again, there's only 5 lockups, maybe 25 to 30 vehicles that can spawn into the lockup thing itself. That is going to mean right there that, well, you're looking for 15 different Blacklist vehicles and only 5 spawn in a pool of 30 vehicles. So guess what? That is going to be a huge and also a really annoying low RNG rate of getting a car you actually need. It is going to be pretty rare, man. You're basically spinning a lottery machine of which cars are in there. And the more players you actually have in the lobby, guess what? Trying to find the car you actually need is going to be even harder. That is also why I think being able to go in a solo session or having that option in the game really should be a thing if players want to do it. I mean, players actually want to jump into something like this with one other friend and actually enjoy it. What is the issue with that, man? Like, legit, just put the option in there. Everybody would absolutely love it. Especially with the RNG of some of these Blacklist cars, I really can't blame people for getting annoyed. I would say players are easily going to go days without getting some of these cars, or even hours on end without having a single car they did end up getting. I think I went around 5 hours for one vehicle one night, and also, as I said before, a few days ago, I went over 7 hours before the Mitsubishi actually dropped for me, man. I saw that car and I was like, oh, finally, bro, I can get this thing. But besides that, though, let me show y'all something else about the cars you can actually get out of this and how amazing it really is with the cars you can unlock, even if you don't have them on multiplayer. Okay, now spawning into the actual vehicles themselves, guys, I did want to show a couple of things with this that are honestly incredible. If you are wondering, this is going to be the BMW M3 GTR Legends Edition. This is actually going to be the car you get once you get all 15 Blacklists, and yes, it does look so dang amazing. I did end up maxing it. Also, a lot of the cars you get are actually going to be maxed out. But here's what I did want to show, though. So let me go over to buy and sell. Head over to sell here, and I'll go all the way to the end of this because I did want to show you guys this. Also, y'all see how many cars I have impounded? I'm actually going to show more footage of this in a second here in the background. I think the most cars I had impounded at one time was like 19 vehicles. So if you are going to be using any of your main cars, guys, they always get impounded every game. Quick tip there. No matter what you use, you cannot use the car for 24 hours again in the lockdown game mode. All the cars are usable and everything else, so no worries there. But if you are looking to play the lockdown game mode with the cars, you're going to have to wait. But let me keep moving over this way. You'll probably see a bunch of the cars I've got, and that's the other one, which is going to be the #1 Blacklist there. But here we go though, guys. Every car you're basically going to see now is cars I took from the lockup. Not even kidding. So here's the McLaren P1. Here's going to be a little Ferrari. Here's a second one. I also have legit 3 of those. Make that 4. Look at that. 4 of those same Ferraris, man. We're then going to have 2 Regeras here, 2 Pagani Huayras. We're then going to have 3 of these special Ferraris, which is the Blacklist. I have the maxed out Regera I customized there, a maxed out Huayra. I also got a P1 GTR, bro, a P1 GTR. Did not even know this car was part of the actual drops. I have also seen an SVJ in there. I still want to get one of those, but haven't. Besides that, I then have legit 3 Bugattis, bro. 3 Bugattis, guys. Funny thing is, I should actually have 4 of them, but the 4th one is not in my inventory. Shocking, right? Because a lot of players are having that problem. But yeah, 3 Bugattis. I can legit sell a lot of these duplicated cars and make a crazy amount of money. I'm already at almost 18 million, but why not get more? The crazy part is, though, you all saw the Bugattis and the P1s and all that. Check this out and buy stock going all the way over. This is probably one of my favorite things about Lockdown is the fact that you can actually buy cars you don't even own. So yeah, I do have the Pagani there, but that's $1.5 million you don't have to spend on a vehicle. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Let me keep moving over here. Man, there's a lot of cars, bro. Okay, but besides that, I did actually want to skip a tad because I did not realize how many vehicles I don't even have unlocked yet because I haven't done any of the playlists. But here's the best part. You all notice how I mentioned the SVJ. I've seen this car 3 times already in Lockdown. I legit can't even buy this car yet because I don't even have it unlocked. Remember the P1? I also got one of these. I can't even buy this vehicle. I don't know if the F1's in there. Probably not. But here's a LaFerrari. $1 million for this car. Guys, again, I have legit, I think it's like 6 of these, including the other edition of it, or the other 2 editions. It's actually like 8 of them. The Regera's 1.5 million. I have 3 of these. I also got a free P1 GTR. I do not know if the FXXK is in there, guys. Let me know in the comments. I haven't seen it. And then here's the insane part. I have 3 Bugattis, bro. Look at that for a minute. That's over $10 million in just Bugattis right there. Best part is I still cannot even buy this car. So if you guys actually wanted some of these higher end vehicles from the actual game itself, you can legitimately jump into Lockdown and get them without even buying them, man. Like, it's so incredible. Probably one of my favorite things about Lockdown is the fact that I can get some of these cars even though I can't even unlock them. So after playing the extraction game mode this long, guys, and getting over 50 vehicles successfully extracted, I figured why not give some big tips and tricks I found when doing this. Number 1, I'm going to say right now, when the truck does end up spawning in, if you can't make it to that truck with at least 40 seconds in there and get into the circle, I think it takes around 15 to 20 or so seconds for it to go up. I was trying to see if having police on you make it slower, having them not. I think it did, but I couldn't actually 100% find out. But if you can't get that truck all the way maxed out till you own it within that time limit, don't even bother going after it, guys. It is not worth it. Again, it blows up. You will lose the car you actually have. And speaking of that, though, if you're in a public lobby and someone does end up getting the truck before you, this might sound a bit insane, man, but just let them actually have it. It is not worth trying to fight them over it. Normally, if somebody actually gets that truck, you are most likely not going to get it. And if you are going to be next to them and someone does end up grabbing the truck and owning it when you try to crash them, that truck is also going to blow you up. Ask me how I know, because I actually lost a Bugatti doing that, because I was like, yo, I could beat this dude, but turns out the truck actually blows you up if you're next to it. So watch out for that, man. It would be kind of unfortunate. A few big things I did find, though, is definitely use the motorcycle, guys. Even if you have an S Plus vehicle, it is so dang good for going through the storm areas in the map itself. You are most likely going to be on the map for a while, especially being by yourself, and you're going to have to explore basically everywhere. So being able to go into the storm being fast and not losing vehicle health, and also being able to lose the police easier, is well worth it. Something I would definitely recommend. Going around again, you're probably going to have some bad RNG in some of the lockdown matches you're in, so I would definitely recommend being prepared for that. Like, you might go in going, okay, I need 2 more of these Blacklist vehicles, whereas it might legitimately take you around 3 to 4 hours to get those last 2 cars. Yes, the RNG is legitimately that terrible, but hey, if you're like me, though, you might be able to grab a few Regeras, a few Paganis, maybe even a couple of Bugattis. The only thing is, I do understand when I was making this video, well, we all do know there's kind of issues going on with like the extraction thing where cars weren't actually showing up. For me, after all 52 vehicles I have taken, only 1 Bugatti has not went into my garage. So I feel like that's a pretty decent win. Overall, though, guys, do let me know your thoughts on the new lockdown game mode in the comments below. What are your favorite things about it? What are some things you would change about it? I would actually say the number one thing I would like to have in this game mode. Funny part is it doesn't have to do with the game mode itself, but the actual matchmaking. Put in a solo matchmaker, that way you can play in a private lobby, or jump in with a crew member or two and just be in your own server, man. That would be so dang incredible for this game mode. Overall, from playing this and getting over 50 vehicles and getting all the Blacklist cars, I've actually really enjoyed it. I really do feel like the developers actually did such a great job on this game mode. And it really does make me so dang excited for the future of Need for Speed. Speaking of the future of Need for Speed, can we please get the motorcycle in free roam, bruh? Please, I beg you, EA, put that thing in free roam, man. I know everybody wants it. You can't race it, you can't do any of that, but at least let me ride that bike around in free mode. That would be so dang awesome.